Hey everybody, I hope and pray that you're doing well today. So we come to our word from the word. And today that word is convince. Convince. Now, it's something we're going to skip ahead, skip to chapter 21, First Chronicles chapter 21 today. And actually the rest of the week we're going to be dealing with chapter 21. And you'll recall, if you've been following us for a while, then you'll know that when we were in 2 Samuel, we dealt with this 2 Samuel 24, I believe, is where we dealt with this passage and this story. But we're going to kind of look at it as it is here in Chronicles today. And you'll see that it starts right off uh, with Satan at work. And so the word is convinced today. And unfortunately, it seems as though Satan is going to try to convince David to do something. But isn't it sad that a lot of times Satan, it seems, doesn't have to do a whole lot of convincing? Seems like that our own pride has already gone before us and kind of already got the job started. So, First Chronicles chapter 21, just looking at the first two verses today, says this: says, "Now Satan stood up against Israel and moved David to number Israel. So David said to Joab and to the leaders of the people, 'Go, number Israel from Beersheba to Dan, and bring the number of them to me, that I may know it.'" Now, it doesn't sound like a lot. Okay, well, so what if he's going to count everybody? I mean, he's king. Shouldn't he know how many people he has? Well, it's funny that, why would you take a census at any time? Well, it's one, so you know how to tax people. And the other is so that you know kind of what kind of army you have. What about the young men can we get kind of pulled into military service? And it gives you an idea of exactly who you have and how many you have. Now, the only reason, if you're in David's position, that you would be concerned about the size of your military is if you were concerned about some of your enemies. And now, there again, we could say, well, yes, he's king. He should be aware of what's going on. But one commentator in particular, and he kind of put it this way. He said, you know what? It's when David had one enemy and only 5 stones, he needed God. But when those 5 stones have now become millions of people that he has, it's like all of a sudden he doesn't need God. Now, I don't mean that he like literally thought about that he didn't need God, but I think that in his mind, as you'll see in the rest of the passage, that he admits that it was sin, it was a sinful thought, because what he was doing was taking pride in what he was doing and what he would be able to accomplish on his own. Basically, it took his eyes off of God. That's all he did, was take his eyes off of God. And instead of just relying on how many God had blessed him with and just be happy with the number that he had, it was though he wanted to count it so that then he knew exactly what he could do himself. Kind of reminded of the story of Gideon. And, Gideon's army just kept decreasing. And the Lord said, no, I don't have that perfect number yet. And it ended up being 300 for Gideon. And then at the end of that story, they didn't even do anything. God was the one that did all the work. But isn't that how it is every day? God's always the one doing all the work. God's the one fighting our battles for us. All we are required to do is to have faith in Him and to move forward in obedience. See, the biggest problem with this is that Satan was the one who had convinced David that he needed to do the census. The Lord hadn't told him to. I think that's one of the reasons you'll find in this passage. I pray as always you're reading along and reading outside of the verses that we just shared together. But you'll see how quickly he replies and how quickly he confesses his sin. I think it's because he knew exactly what he had done. He didn't get upset. Why, God, why are you punishing us for me just taking a census? No, he knew that deep down it was all because his heart had maybe not trusted in the Lord as he ought to. So I guess the challenge for us all today, and I'll just kind of close us out with this today, is are we being convinced by Satan to do something that we think is right? You just ponder on that statement there. David thought maybe what he was doing was right, but when he really got down to it, after the fact, he realized, you know what? This was all about me. It didn't have anything to do with being faithful to God. So today, why don't we let God convince us of our wrong instead of Satan trying to convince us to do something that we think is right? God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.